Hi all, welcome back to the channel. So in this episode, what we actually want to look at is AI inconsistencies. So AI inconsistencies refer to situations where AI systems give different, contradictory, unstable, and unpredictable outputs when it should have behaved consistently. So in simple terms, AI says or does one thing in one situation and does something else in a very similar situation. So, why is this actually kind of important? It's important because when you actually have a system, you want it to be reliable and consistent to your users. So you don't want, one set of users getting one response and another set of users getting another response. So a lot of people actually aren't aware that, you have to try and limit AI inconsistencies within your responses. And there's different types of inconsistencies that can actually kind of happen, between, where the AI contradicts itself, small, small changes in wording, factual instability, context drift. So longer conversations, AI may forget earlier details, for example. Okay, so you also have something like bias-based inconsistencies. So it's uneven across groups, right? So being stricter, in one democratic group than another. So you have all of these types of inconsistencies that actually exist, and you have to try and limit as much as possible. Um, and why does it actually kind of happen? Well, reasons it kind of happens, it can be due to, training, model, the prompts, trade-off, lack of persistent memory. There's some of the reasons why this can kind of happen, but it is a real issue, and you want to kind of program, you want to develop, and you want to test against um, that you don't actually have inconsistencies, creeping into your application. Because I know that, they do an awful lot of um, they do an awful lot of work, between OpenAI and Google DeepMind to try and reduce that, by having kind of better training and evaluation and grounding techniques. So there's a lot of work that kind of goes on into it. But one thing I want to kind of, point out that I kind of marked here is very, very important is that AI inconsistency is not the same as an AI hallucination. So AI consistency is when you get different, contradictory answers across similar situations. Okay. But an AI hallucination is when AI confidently generates false or fabricated or unsupported information. So, it will tell you a fact that, doesn't actually exist. That's an hallucination. So inconsistencies and hallucinations, the distinction there is is really, really clear. And you need to make sure that, for hallucinations, you actually can try and kind of test to sort of see if there's hallucinations creeping into your application. But really for inconsistencies, you need to kind of, make sure that you develop against them. So um, we created a few kind of small kind of programs here, program one, probabilistic inconsistency randomness. So this simulates how models can give different answers to the same questions. Okay. And prompt sensitivity. So like a small change can be like a big kind of difference. Okay. Um, Problem three, context drift. So forgetting early information. So this was, related to memory, where you may not have enough kind of storage and memory in place, and you may just kind of get a kind of context drift. Um, Four is like unstable decision boundaries. So a tiny change can result in a big result. So that's something that you need to kind of make sure that, doesn't kind of creep into your application. And then your contradiction generator. So making sure that, you have a logical consistency throughout. So if it sort of says here, for example, a random choice, exercise is good for health, exercise is bad for health, you know, what will it actually kind of print? So if you can do like, um, a for loop here and kind of print out your kind of inconsistencies, what will it actually kind of, produce here? It's going to produce that, it's just going to pick a random choice at will. So it's just going to say it's good for health, it's bad for health, it's good for health, it's bad for health, and kind of so on. So um, it's kind of important that, we kind of run these as we've been running the past kind of couple of samples here. So you just kind of do your Docker run here for. I just kind of have this marked as kind of number 23 for me. But if you sort of see here, like program 1 produces the same outputs because of randomness. Program 2, small word changes, produces different answers. Program 3, the system forgets about early information, so a form of inconsistency. You know, program 4, tiny numeric differences produce completely different classifications. And then kind of program 5 simulates logical inconsistency. So this is just where, it sort of says, I've just kind of picked something out. It could sort of say, you know, that this just happened, that everything was kind of good, but it actually could be happening that when it kind of makes a random choice, it just sort of says, it's actually good for your health, it's bad for your health, it's good for your health, it's bad for your health. So you want to kind of limit that out. You want to kind of make sure that you're programming and making sure that you're kind of testing for these types of inconsistencies. But this is just a kind of quite a quick video to just to kind of show very, very simply what an actual kind of inconsistency actually is. And maybe kind of, just to think about how you're actually going to develop into your own programs to ensure that you don't actually have inconsistencies.